Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of ParaMindful, a bi-weekly show where myself, Melball Collins, Carl fell down there, and Alex over there all talk about some spooky ooky-ish. And man, do we have a fun show lined up for you today. But before we get into that, Carl, my friend, how are you doing today?
Today is a good day. I'm alive. The sun shone for a little bit. I can't complain. It's beautiful.
Excellent. Nice little sentiment today. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm having a wonderful beard day.
I was gonna say that looks like a fairly luscious and even
Oh,
beard there.
it's a carpet. But yeah, it's a good day. Had a good day today.
Carpet beards are always good, I guess, right?
Right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thick, they're
Men
dense.
aspire to have a beard as glorious looking as that.
His microphone almost gets lost in it. You wouldn't know it's
Yeah,
there.
Right?
it's beautiful, right?
Become an extension of him.
That's right.
Ah, so as I said, we have a very fun show that we're going to get into today. We are talking about the Missing 411 series, written by the famous author now, I guess, David Paulides. Alex, you have a lot more information on David Paulides here. Why don't you introduce him to our audience here?
Yeah. All right. So David Paulides, he's a former police officer from San Francisco, but it's like a 20-year career he had, and it was everything from beat cop to SWAT, all sorts of things. So he's like very well versed. He's not a cop anymore. He's retired, but he now is an investigator. And the missing 411 stuff came about because he had asked for a list of missing people in, I think it was Yosemite, I think. And they said, "Oh, we don't keep a list of missing people." And he's like, "Whoa, that's weird." Okay. Um, and then he let it go, but later on that same day, he was stopped by a park ranger who's like, "Listen, you need to know that something weird's going up or going on in parks and stuff." And so it kind of like um, gets struck a chord with him because he was a detective and all that stuff as well, right?
Mhm.
So he ended up doing his own little research and finding that there's a lot of strange things going on in national parks, all national parks, all national parks. Um, but what he's done is he's made a very strict set of criteria for what he considers to be a strange disappearance as opposed to um, say a suicide or something, somebody who wants to like a self-imposed disappearance.
Mhm.
So I have it written here. He says he doesn't count, I should say, he doesn't count the people missing where it could be potentially a fall. So if somebody was like climbing a cliff or whatever, health crises. So whatever, some sort of manic episode or whatever. He does not anytime there could be the potential of drowning, he does not do it. Anytime there's signs of an animal attack, he does not count that, and he does not count deliberate disappearances, like I said before. So the interesting thing is he now has 10 books out, spanning from um, East US to West US. Here in Canada, he's got a book about us. There's also stuff from Europe as well. And it goes in further into things like hunters and what hunters have been seeing and hearing and experiencing of things. And he's also got 3 documentary films, 2 of which right now, for us anyways, Canucks, are on Amazon or yeah, Prime are on Prime, I should say. But I don't know. I don't know about the third one. I don't know if you fancy Americans get different Prime than us. I'm not sure. So
Sounds like a watch along idea.
it's so if you're I've seen the first 2. I haven't seen the third because that's brand new. The first one's kind of interesting in the sense that it follows the disappearance of a little kid called Jared Atadero. And it actually, like, they interview his dad and everything, and they kind of explain his situation and say, hey, and then all of a sudden they found a tooth and a portion of his skull just sitting right on top of a log, like very bizarrely placed there, kind of thing. Unfortunately, part of that first documentary, they kind of stumble upon a situation happening at the same time that resembles a missing 411 case, but is actually kind of more along the lines of kind of like a murder. So I would not put huge a huge love for the first one, but the second film, the second documentary, is awesome. So if you're interested, highly suggest it. But anyways, yeah. So 10 books, 3 documentaries, former cop, and yeah. And it's him and his son are doing this now. So his son is the guy who is going to do like all the visual things, like the filming and things like that. His son is the cinematographer, kind of producer, director kind of guy. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. Well, we decided to kind of go along with this 411 thing to kind of share a few stories that were from I believe we discussed the Eastern, but we are kind of doing all of the books because it's a lot, you guys. I mean, 10 books, and the stories are fairly short. But the interesting things behind them will probably have us conversing for some time. Um, Guys voted me to share the story first before going on air here, so I'm going to just share the story here. This one is actually from Georgia, Ellerslie, Georgia. So this missing individual, his name is Christopher Thompson. He went missing, I believe that's January 25th. Yeah, 2002. That's the year I graduated. That's a little scary. That's 20 years ago. So he was 20 years of age when he disappeared, and they did provide the height and the weight. He was 5'9", 130 pounds. So quite a bit taller than myself. I'm 5'3".
So small.
But like, a little bit lanky, sounds like a little bit thinner of a guy. So the story goes, Mrs. Anne Mackenzie is the mother of Chris Thompson. Anne was the babysitter for a man who owned a surveying company, and Anne's son Chris worked for him and his 4-man team. On January 25th, 2002, Anne stated that Chris left home at 8:10 a.m. and drove to the surveyor's office where he parked his car and rode to the work site with the business owner. Chris worked the morning hours with the 3 other men without any incident. Shortly after lunch, all of the workers were walking on the shoulder of Highway 85 between County Line Road and Warm Springs Road. The employees were approximately 50 feet apart walking on the highway. When work associates last saw Chris, he was near the back of the group and near the side of the road. A minute more passed, and the crew looked back behind them, and Chris was gone, completely disappeared. There was a tall barbed wire fence between the shoulder of the road and a private property that borders the highway. When fellow employees went back to the area where Chris was last seen, they found one of Chris's boots laying near the fence and some coins laying near the boots on the grass. They also found tools that Chris had on him laying and scattered on the ground near the fence. The owner of the surveying business did call Chris's mother and explained what happened. They waited until 4:15 p.m. and tried to report it to the sheriff as a missing person, but the sheriff would not take the report until he was missing for 24 hours. So after 24 hours had passed and an investigation started, a sheriff found a piece of blue cloth on the barbed wire near where the boot was found, and it was a fiber that matched the blue jeans that he had been wearing. The area on the other side of the barbed wire fence, oh, bye, Alex, was best described as a heavily wooded area with swamps, snakes, and very thick vegetation, a place most wouldn't want to go. Almost a year after the disappearance of Christopher, the owner of the land where Chris would have had to cross over the fence reported to the sheriff that he had found Chris's other boot in the field. This piece of evidence was turned over to the sheriff. So then it goes on to say the case summary. This disappearance is one of the most unusual I've ever read about. It's been over 8 years since Chris disappeared and nobody has heard from him. I believe that this shows that something very bad happened to Chris when he went over the barbed wire. I don't believe this was a voluntary disappearance. Details from the scene make me believe that Chris was involved in a struggle that ended with Chris getting either knocked down or turned sideways so that coins and tools fell from his pocket. There was no way anyone would walk the area on the other side of the barbed wire fence without boots or shoes. There is no logical reason someone would take his shoes off if he wanted to voluntarily leave the job site either.
Right.
It appears that Chris might have been dragged over the fence because the cloth was found on the barbed wire. If someone is carried or turned sideways, tools, coins, and other personal items fall out of their pockets, as happened in this case.
That's
We
wild.
seem to have some technical problems with Alex here, but
Yeah.
Karl and I will keep trudging forward. Karl, what do you think of this one? This one's very, very baffling.
It definitely is very baffling. I don't really understand.
Hey, he's back.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Alex
guys.
is back. Technical difficulties, man.
I don't
Right?
know, you guys like legit just froze as the banner goes underneath you. I'm like, weird. And then, like, 'cause I was
Was
sitting
it
like,
at least a nice pose?
I was sitting like this, and then I just looked over here and like I'm like, and I'm still. I was like, that's creepy. And yes, I didn't even know I was frozen. I don't know how long I was frozen for. So I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
all,
It's okay. Yeah,
all
you
good.
you totally like disappeared and everything, and we thought that maybe we were gonna have another missing 411 to talk about at some point.
It was intentional. It was 100% intentional. I apologize. I don't
Hey,
know. I don't know what
That's
happened. Like
okay.
it
I'm.
It's
wouldn't be a
technology, dude. It
ParaMindful
happens.
issue or episode if there wasn't some kind of spooky ooky ish going on,
I
right?
still blame George from Disneyland.
Right? 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 And Mel, you said it correctly. It wouldn't be a paramindful issue. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Because we
Yes, it
have
is.
definitely, and we're getting off topic here as we always
We
do.
are.
We have always had something weird
Mhm.
Mhm.
happen in pretty much every episode. It's
Mhm.
very uncanny.
Yeah, and it's like
Mhm.
it's not intentional for whoever's watching. Like everything was fine, and I have all the bars on my Wi-Fi and all that stuff. In fact, I think I'm actually hard plugged in as well. Anyways,
I mean, look at us. We're perfectly fine now.
Yeah.
and so
Right.
and I'm sitting
I've
there, and it's just like
like I
half
haven't
the
been touching my shirt or nothing. Like, I mean, it's
yeah,
like,
half the screen is moving, and then like you guys are just sitting there, and I'm like, what is going on? Anyways, sorry, Mel. I
weird.
didn't
No,
mean.
no worries, no worries. We were just getting Karl's opinion on this weird story. I don't know if you caught any of it there, Alex, but the boot was found initially on the one side of the fence, and then let's see here, how long ago was it? Almost a year after the owner of the land where Chris would have crossed over the fence found his other boot on the other side of the field.
That's fucking mind blast. Sorry,
Mm.
that's fucking
Right?
mind blasting.
So,
And
Karl,
then
what do you
detective.
think about that?
Well, we'll just fill Alex in super quick. Detectives
Yeah.
even like said like this they didn't figure that it was intentional that this was
No,
done,
not voluntary.
but that it was a struggle of some sort, and
Okay.
That
that
caused coins and tools to come out.
yeah, like because all of his stuff fell out of his pocket, right? So he would have had to have been turned and dragged or pulled it. So
Right.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But like that's just it's mind-blowing because like what is it? And I know that's what we're trying to talk about and trying to figure out. I just it boggles my mind because there's so much that it could people are going to go, you know, I know there's going to be people that are watching that are going to go, them damn aliens.
Aliens?
It was the aliens. We're talking about a field. We're talking about a fence that's there. And classic tropes is that's where the aliens are going to land and take people from. But who knows? Like, obviously, it wasn't an animal because if there was, we would probably have seen blood. that was
Mhm.
there, right?
Yes.
It's some
Blood,
entity, some
fur,
spirit. Like,
something.
what?
More than a piece of clothing on the barbed wire. Like,
Exactly. You probably
yeah.
would have found some, like, because it was barbed wire. So
Mhm.
how did this even happen then? Because if you're gonna go through barbed
Yeah.
wire, you're gonna have your skin is gonna be ripped. I've been in a lot of barbed wire matches when I was professionally wrestling. My skin has been ripped up from barbed wire,
Yeah.
Mhm,
and
mhm,
it stays
mhm,
on the barbed wire.
mhm,
So how was
mhm,
it that there was only a piece of his blue jeans on?
mhm.
Jeez.
It makes you think, like, let's break it down, like, it could have been aliens, but, like, how in the middle of the day there would have been a flash or something, there would have been a bit more indication, I would think, that there was something like aliens in that
Right.
situation.
Right.
It's obviously not an animal or an attack because, again, there would be blood. There would be something left besides his boots and his change and his tools.
And is yeah.
Um, could it have been a cryptid and maybe his boots came off because he was picked up by his foot and everything came out of his pockets, all of his tools came out, and then the foot came out of the boot. And things
Right?
like, I don't want the boot. I want Chris. And
Right.
off he goes with Chris. What if the only reason that blue jeans were found on there was because the thing cleared it and that was the only thing that caught? What do you guys think of that?
Maybe.
See, I'm of the belief. I don't know if you guys can hear me still, right? Because I'm
Mhm,
frozen.
mhm.
Yeah, which is so bizarre.
You
And
look
it
like
seems.
Buddha.
um, I seem to feel like. See, I'm unfrozen again. I don't know, George, man. I apologize. I made fun of you one time, man.
Stop
um,
making fun of George, man.
and now everything's fine. So all I had to do is apologize, and I meant it, like wholeheartedly, George. Um, oh, now it freezes again. Oh, okay. I think it's more than one thing going on. I dollars to donuts. Some of it has to be, say, Bigfoot or Sasquatch. But I have an idea. I mean, also it could be a portal, maybe. You know what I mean? Notice I said portal this time as opposed to porthole,
Right.
like like a boat. Um, thank you, thank you. Here's my thought. What about feral people?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
people who, um,
Mountain wild people. Hmm.
yeah, like
Hmm.
people who have for generations or whatever just lived in the bush. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, wasn't that inbred family from Georgia or was it Alabama?
All of them? No, I'm so sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I can't, I don't, I have to see if I can find the footage of it, but I found some documentary footage of a gentleman who was a filmographer and he went to a family and I can't remember if it was Alabama or Georgia, but it was a severely inbred
Interesting.
colony
Huh.
See,
of
but
people.
the thing is, like,
Um,
you would need some kind of, because like you have inbreeding, right? That's one thing.
mhm,
But like to be feral, there's been
living in the
cases of
woods.
feral people, like kids who have been abandoned and raised by wolves or whatever, right? There's
Like the
actually
movie Mama.
or Jungle Book.
That's what I was thinking, Jungle Book.
It's
Yeah.
based off of it's
I mean,
based
Mama's a little bit more modern though. Raised by a ghost in the cabin. That's pretty.
We're old. Jungle Book.
which one was
I'm
you?
older than both of you, I think.
No.
No.
Which one was
No.
Mama? Was that the one with the
That was the one where the gentleman crashed his car with his 2 children in it, and, the ghost of, a mother, found these 2 children and raised them for a year, and the one was completely feral.
it doesn't
Um,
ring a bell.
yeah, and then they're actually found, by the remaining family, tried to integrate back into society, and the mother thing follows, and the feral child is still feral.
So there are actual
Hmm.
cases of real feral people.
Mhm, mhm,
There's actually one that's still alive now.
mm.
Um, I wish I could remember what it's a female. She's had her name changed since, but she was locked in a room by her parents. Finally, they found her, but she had not learned to talk. She had not learned anything. She was just an
Oh.
animal. So they were saying that by, I want to say it was by the age 8, if you haven't learned the fundamentals of speaking and that kind of thing, then it just doesn't stick in your brain. That's what I
Mhm.
read. It was a long article about this, and I thought it was very interesting because I thought, what if there are pockets of, like, obviously Bigfoot, you'd have a pocket of Bigfoot, like a family or whatever, right? But what if there are
Mhm.
Mhm.
pockets of feral people? And uh, I'm not saying that they're cannibals or anything, but what if they are? Or what if
Mhm.
um, they're taking people that they deem either either worthy or required, maybe? I don't know. Sorry, I just thought about that. And it's just one of those things
Hmm.
because I don't think it can be just one thing. That seems um, um, too out there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I'm sure
Mhm.
some of these are like, I mean, I would wager to say not very many, but some of them are actually mislabeled. Maybe they were actually a murder or something, or a kidnapping or something like that. But
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
anyway, sorry about that. That was my little
No, no,
Sounds okay.
it was relevant to the conversation, sir.
Yeah.
because somehow that dude, there's nothing left of him on. You know what I mean? And
Right.
Mhm.
it's a boot, but I mean, I guess people don't tie boots all the time, right? I was gonna say because to lose a boot is difficult. I mean, all I can go by is my own experience, and I tie my boots at work all the time. So,
Mhm.
Right.
for,
That's what I was gonna say. It's a work boot,
yeah,
which
for
I
Mhm.
mean,
somebody,
safety
yeah,
standards.
for somebody to rip off my boot, man, my whole lower leg is going with it. You know.
Yeah.
So, anyway, sorry.
Huh, huh.
Wild.
Do you guys have any
One of
other
those things.
thoughts on what that could potentially be? I mean, I don't think it would be like, see, Georgia, that's pretty far south. Is that lizard man territory still?
I think so, wasn't it?
Yeah. 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 Roughly around that area would be. Yep.
It'd be interesting to be able to like get a picture, you know, like an actual photograph of where the stuff was found, so you could be like,
Mhm,
oh, because in my brain right now it's like, oh, he's whatever, standing on the edge of a football field worth of empty space, you know what I mean? But for
Right.
all you know,
yeah.
it could be a barbed wire fence that leads straight into like the blackest of black forests, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Sounded like it
I.
was a field, a farmer's field.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there trees on these sides? Is he close to
Mhm.
trees and then the field's like over here, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, it is Georgia. I don't
that's
know
what I mean. So
where it is, but that's gonna be like the tail end of the Appalachians there. So there's probably not gonna be too many
Mhm.
foresty things from what I
that's
remember.
there's totally gonna be a clip from Deliverance in here. 100%. 100%.
Ah,
Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add to the disappearance of Christopher Thompson, Carl, would you like to share the story that you brought to the table today?
sure. I will summarize what I have here because I have quite a bit. But we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Melanie Either.
Oh,
Possibly that's how it's pronounced. Ethier. I would pronounce that either.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this case actually takes place in New Liskeard, Ontario, which is about
Wait,
6 hours away from me.
how do you spell the last name?
Ethier.
That could be HCA as well if you're French.
Oh,
I missed the I. That's why I have to ask again. Sorry.
right. No. That's perfectly fine. Now it could very well be because we'll say Melanie so that I don't continue to mess up the name. Her name is Melanie. She was actually an honor student at École Secondaire Catholique Sainte Marie in New Liskeard. So it's quite the possibility that this was a black French woman.
Okay.
Oh,
So
Which is
yes.
interesting because that sounds very very similar to my high school.
Okay.
ooh.
Okay.
Other side of the country, but
right? So this girl was 5'5", weighed approximately about 120 pounds, brown hair, long braided black hair, fond of wearing hair extensions. So she liked to do herself up. Had not been diagnosed with any type of mental illness and was not taking any medications. Friends who knew her at the time believed that her disappearance does not happen from any undiagnosed condition that she might have had that we weren't aware about. So it's a really weird case for me. This girl who is like somebody who was talked about so highly by other people, talking about how, you know, like she's just the salt of the earth, a lovely personality, just a beautiful girl. Very weird. She was employed at a local daycare, which was pretty much right beside and connected to the school that she was going to. She had aspirations. She wanted to go on and be a teacher. She would help the kids get on and off the bus. So she was just like that all around good girl type of situation. So on the morning of Saturday the 28th of September 1996, she's visiting the home of her mother's close friend. Only Mélanie, Miss Chartrand, Sylvie Chartrand, and Sylvie's 6-year-old daughter were present at the house. Chartrand's partner and son were out of town, so that takes them totally out of situations from there. The two girls had visited several local locations in New Liskeard, including a Pizza where they had lunch. They kind of talked about different ideas about her wanting to be a teacher and volunteering in Botswana, the country that her father was from. They purchased some candles, frosting, candy hearts. So they were out just doing regular kind of everyday things and just making a really fun time of it. They went to the video rental store around 9:30, rented the movie Sudden Death is what it's being reported here as.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
At 10 o'clock that evening, a group of her friends arrived over at the house to watch the movie. Melanie's mother was spending time with Melanie's grandmother in the living room, so gave her the opportunity to just be with her friends. After 10 o'clock, they relocated to a house over on Pine Avenue. From that house, which was about 6 blocks away, they just watched the movie quietly in the basement while this other person, Ryan Chatwin, that's where they went to. His parents were asleep upstairs. It says that they consumed no alcohol, no drugs, and investigators of this case actually still believe that to be true. Before the movie ended, a couple of people had left the house and returned. Where was it here? I apologize for this. So much writing here. Shortly after 1 a.m., a friend arrived over at her house now, at Melanie's house. They had all left. Someone else went over to Melanie's house, catching the last few minutes of Saturday Night Live before being driven home. Vehicle that she encountered was described as white or light colored Chevrolet Monte Carlo or a similar 2-door model. Always those like weird boat vehicles.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The last confirmed sighting of Mélanie was around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning on September 29th, 1996, where she left her friend's house and began making the 1 kilometer walk. For our American friends, 3,300 feet walk to her home alone on foot. It was uncommon for her to take any other deviation from the path that she would normally walk, but without cell phone service, she could not call home for a ride. One of the other boys escorted her to the door and watched her walk to the door of the house that she was leaving and watched her walk the rest of the way down Pine Avenue East. She was wearing a green Nike windbreaker, a white t-shirt with a blue heart logo on it, blue jeans, a black belt with a silver buckle, black boots with short heel, a necklace, and a watch. So the search began the afternoon of Sunday the 29th at around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. New Liskeard police dispatched officers to Melanie's residence and began a search around the area, including the Armstrong Street Bridge and along the banks of the Wabi River, within hours of her being reported missing. So within hours. So if she had fallen or slipped,
Right.
she would have still been there within those few hours.
Mhm.
The local police requested assistance from the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police. A helicopter from Sudbury region came in, a police dog from North Bay, Ontario came in, and a search and rescue dog from the Fire Marshal of Ontario was also dispatched. They have not found her body. The search and rescue team and an Ontario hydro helicopter the following day, on Tuesday, October the 1st,
Everybody, hey?
including
Wow.
a psychic with a history of contributing to police investigations, also joined the search.
I
The
just find
psychic came up with nothing.
the Ontario Hydro is interesting.
Right?
It's super interesting because I'm frozen again, but it's not um it's not an arm of the law enforcement tree.
Right.
It's
Yes.
literally it'll be well for hydro. I mean, I'm assuming you guys are that'd be power for you guys.
Right.
Hydro.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make sense. Hydro. Anyways, because like in Alberta here, natural gas. So, but I mean,
Right.
I couldn't see Atco gas flying helicopters to. I guess it all depends on how.
Right. I mean, I can understand for the hydro in this area because there is a lot of like bush, there is a lot of trees and stuff, right? And the power lines all go like run through them.
Right.
So hydro would have a good idea of where to be going, where to be flying
suppose.
with the helicopter.
I find it really kind of strange that they would offer that. You know what I mean? Or maybe they were asked. Who knows? Anyways, just a
Right? No, it is very interesting that all of these people,
yeah.
all of these departments, all of these teams, and it definitely was a team of people, including search and rescues, OPP's emergency search and rescue, search dogs, fire marshal, a psychic, for God's sake, even came in.
That one
Nobody,
interests me
right? It interested me too.
because it's like, if you believe that and you believe that it's possible that hypothetically speaking, a person can use themselves, a psychic or a medium can use their spirituality, their mind, or whatever it is that they use to connect to the spiritual being of another person,
Yes.
that she can't find that. Whether the person is alive or dead, you should be able to at least be able to kind of feel or locate something if it
Right.
is existing on this plane of
Yeah.
existence. That makes me go back to Alex's idea of his
Right.
porthole.
In comes the boat. No.
that almost makes me think that she slipped into something and just disappeared and is in now a completely different dimension. Like she's in the upside down.
Right. Here's something interesting that I'm thinking. If okay, so for anybody to search for somebody, they don't have to be allowed to search. But to come in as a psychic and not like, oh, that's so and so, she's a psychic, but she's helping us just walk around and search for somebody. She came in with the job of being a psychic, right? And you were saying that she had done it before, so I'm kind of curious as to like what other cases she was on, because obviously the police have some sort of faith in her, right? Or else they'd be
Right.
like, you know what, piss off, lady, you know?
Right.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it doesn't tell me who the psychic is.
Right,
And I
right,
tried doing some research to find out so that I could see if
right,
there were other cases that she worked on, and
right.
I was able to find nothing on her
I just find it
except that
interesting.
this is a psychic that has contributed to police investigations
And
over
that's
the
why
years.
it's the investigations, plural, that
Mhm,
interests
Yes.
me because they've allowed her more than once, which is, I
mhm.
mean, forward thinking, but also like a kind of like a woo woo kind of thinking too, right?
Right. Yeah.
'Cause, I
No,
mean,
and I thought it was just interesting because that obviously lends credibility
yeah,
to that person,
yeah. And I
right?
mean,
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
any help is help, right? Like
mhm.
yeah,
if a psychic's gonna be like, oh yeah, Jimmy fell down the well, and the well's on the mountain on the east side, and you look on the east side and you find a well. I'm like, hey, well, that's fucking close enough, you know.
right?
If you find Jimmy,
Mhm.
even better, you know.
Right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very curious case indeed. Because, like you said, there was nothing ever really found of her.
No,
She just,
there's still to this day there isn't. And I mean they have had the Canadian Center for Child Protection lending their supports to the family for over 20 years now. The Missing Children Society of Canada has tried to bring attention to the case. Um, the city as well, like the citizens of the city, have even tried different things. In 2016, they wanted to get a bronze memorial dedicated to Melanie on the bridge, the Armstrong Street Bridge. And the city of Temiskaming Shores Public Works turned the proposal down to install it. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe it's because it's still an open and active case.
what if
But
she's
then
not
in
dead? And then she
Mhm.
shows up and she has a statue of herself.
right, and then like the people of the city back in 2020, November 7th, held an event. 300 masked marchers attended a Walk for Awareness, Bring Melanie Home event, raising awareness for the case and advocating for better child welfare. So
Interesting.
it's really interesting. It's still open. It's still
Mhm.
active. And it's still full of complete unknowns.
Mhm. Mhm. Wonder if this could also be one of those, going back to what Alex had mentioned earlier, could that be an aliens thing? Again, going back to that lack of spiritual connection, could she have slipped into a wormhole? Could she have been taken by aliens?
Right?
Like,
Maybe it was
it's
the rapture.
very obvious she's not here any longer.
Exactly.
It'd be
Mhm.
curious to. Sorry, I hit my mic. Um, I'd be curious to know, like, if she ever was found, I'd be kind of curious as to know, like, what the situations were and where. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like for
Me
somebody
too.
just to disappear and not leave anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if she fell off a bridge, I mean, in theory, you should have some sort of like rub marks on the edge of the bridge, or
Mhm.
Yeah.
um,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, like a shoe or something floating. You know what I mean? So
Mhm. And like hypothetically speaking, like we could also go to the obvious debunking of this is that she's a young, pretty girl. Even if she is walking in a residential area, it is possible that she could have just been snatched by the wrong person at the wrong place at the wrong time.
It's true.
Um, and that could also equally explain the complete absence of anything if she was just grabbed right in. I mean,
right,
everything's with her.
but even then, though, they said they brought dogs in, right? So they would
They
have her
did.
sent up to wherever they took her.
Mhm.
You know,
Where did the
Yeah.
dogs end up?
Just in like all around the New Liskeard area, trying like the
So,
entire
like, where
area
she would
going
have
around.
regularly
Yeah.
kind of been hanging out.
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like,
Definitely. I mean, you got to remember, New Liskeard is very very small place. I have it written down here. The community was really only roughly 11,000 people, so it's a tiny
yeah.
city.
were there any major highways near it?
Not really.
Hey guys, it's Alex here doing a voiceover. We have Pine Avenue, which is right here marked by the I don't know, that red little dot thing. I don't have the exact address of the house that she left, so I just chose the middle. Now, had she gone westward 2 blocks and then gone northward, I suppose, she would have ended up at Highway 11, and that would have been 2.64 kilometers. Had she stopped short of Highway 11 and gone to secondary Highway 65, that would have been 1.74 kilometers. Now, if she had gone westward 2 blocks, then gone southward, crossed the bridge, gone further south, then gone back westward, and hooked up north, she probably could have gotten to Highway 11 again, just a different route. But that would have been something like 2.81 kilometers. The only other path I could see her taking if she wanted to disappear or if she was kidnapped or whatever would be Pine Avenue. She goes eastbound and then she ends up at that T intersection that's called Robert Street. She goes south to Dawson Point Road and follows that all the way up the river, to which point she gets to Peters Road, which goes straight north and hooks on to Highway 65 again.
No,
Oh,
it would have
that
been
is
a
a
little bit
great
of a walk
all-around.
for it to, for you to get to that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
closer to the highway, obviously, it'd be easier to snatch somebody and go, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
on
it definitely would be,
our side of
Mhm.
the Kanakistan,
right?
we got the Highway of Tears, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
It's not named like that because it's a happy place. That's for dang sure.
that's something that really interests me, is like the idea of thinking about how many missing people
Mm.
have gone missing is insane when you actually get the real number, but
Mhm.
it can't all be one person.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely not. Yes.
Killers are driving the Highway of Tears. If you don't know what the
Mhm.
Highway of Tears is, it would be, I believe it's the Yellowhead, is it not? It's the Yellowhead going through BC.
Trans-Canada, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Trans-Canada, the Yellowhead.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we have nicknames for our roads sometimes.
Yeah.
And the Yellowhead, I'm really surprised that they still call it the Yellowhead, to be honest with you. But
It's true. It is true. So with just under 20 minutes left here to go, Alex, we should probably get into your story so we can discuss it because, man, we've been discussing our stories a lot today.
yeah, so this guy, his name is Kevin J. Ayotte, Ayotte. I don't know how
Oh.
else to pronounce that. He was missing, I believe that's August 30th, maybe. Anyways, August 30th, 1982, from Sugarbush, Minnesota. He 3 years old, 4 feet tall, 4 feet high. He's 4 feet tall, 50 pounds, blue eyes, blonde hair. He had a hearing impairment, so it doesn't quite delve into what the hearing impairment was. Was he completely deaf? Was he, you know what I mean? Anyways, on the afternoon of September 30th, 1982, Kevin was inside his family's summer log home. The residence was in a very rural area near Sugarbush, Minnesota. Kevin was in an upstairs bedroom the last time his mother saw him. She stepped outside the cabin to do some chores and left Kevin with his older brother inside the cabin. Excuse me. Now I just lost my spot. I apologize. Right. When she returned to the upstairs of the room, or the room upstairs, English, Kevin was gone. The cabin is approximately 40 miles east of Fargo, North Dakota, in a region with hundreds of lakes and creeks. The area of the cabin is only 40 miles south of the Red Lakes Recreation Area and 20 miles west of the Paul Bunyan State Forest. So, lots of things going on there.
Yeah.
The area has Little Sugarbush Lake and the Callaway State Wildlife Management Area, which is another thing, right? So, goes a little further. The cabin owned by the Ayottes, I don't know, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. It's in Beltrami County, and their sheriff's department responded and orchestrated a 9-day search for Kevin. Hundreds of searchers participated in checking the bogs, the swamps, the creeks, and the rivers. all without finding any trace, zero trace of this little boy. So, sheriff, his name was Dwight Stewart, stated at the end of the search that they feel Kevin wandered outside and was playing with his dog when he disappeared. The sheriff did not cite any evidence about why he felt that way, but the kid just disappeared from his house. Like, it's just really bizarre. Really, really bizarre. Um, the other thing about it is I kind of did a little bit more. That's the end of the story, by the way.
Okay.
He's just gone. And which is good because we're running out of time anyways. But I did a little bit more research on the area, and there have been a lot of people who have gone missing in that area. It's really, really weird. Um, just for you fine folks who are watching this, I actually own all the books of the Missing 411, and I got my hands on a map. It's a map of North America, and it's got marks, and they're all in like clusters. And it's really, really bizarre because these clusters, if you were to lay it onto, they call it the cavern system of North America. So predominantly it's measured in the United States, anyways, but these caverns, where they're the largest portion of the caverns. If I can find the picture, I'll link it here, or I'll post it. They coincide with where these people are missing from. It's really, really, really frightening. Where you would have like underground tunnels and huge caves underground that they know of. That's where the large number of people are missing from, and it's not just one. It's all over North America. And if I'm not mistaken, it's also into Canada as well. In fact, I think I might have the picture here. I'll have to be able to tell you, but that's the end of my story right there. So it's just,
Wow.
it got to me because he was with his brother and gone, you know?
Mhm.
So I find it really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring out the caverns thing. Do you guys remember what wasn't there a movie called The Cavern
The
that
cave.
kind of had some like Gollum-esque
Yeah.
kind of feral people kind
Yeah,
of
they really
living in
can.
the
Yeah.
underground?
The Descent. Was that the one? The Descent?
That's the one. I can never remember what it was because I just felt like by the end of it, it was felt like it was Carrie versus Tomb Raider.
Mm.
Because the one was just completely covered in blood, looking like Carrie, and the other one seemed
Exactly
like
right.
such a badass.
100%.
But yeah, that that is curious. That does concern me also because I'm afraid of the dark and I don't want to go in the caves. Oof, Carl, what do you think of that?
I think like the cave situation definitely can play a factor in it. I've always believed that. I've always believed that there is energies that are inside the earth that we haven't even tapped into, that we know absolutely nothing about, right?
100%.
But now with this situation, with this 3-year-old boy inside the house,
Mhm,
I get that mom was outside, the brother was upstairs with the kid, but moms and dads are pretty intent on kind of listening and knowing, hey,
mhm,
the door just opened, who's there? Right? Even if you're
mhm.
outside, I've done it with my children. If I'm outside and the door opens, I'm looking because I'm like, who's here? Or
For
who's
sure.
coming
Yeah.
out, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Did this child just simply vanish inside the house?
Yeah.
From inside.
And
I don't believe that this child left the house. I don't
that,
believe that. I believe that the child vanished.
yeah. And when you start reading into the other books, that's not even the wildest thing that you could think of. That's actually like one of the most sane things. You're like, there's no way in hell this person could have. Like there's one story where they're down in a little quarry where there's like a little lake inside a quarry that's retired or whatever, and there was a little patch of trees, small patch. They said it was probably about 30 feet in length, and this girl was walking back up to the camp that was at the top of the quarry, and they saw her. They were all just sitting. They saw her walking to the trees, and then she never walked out of the other side of the trees, and there was no sounds of um,
like a
cougars
fight or a
or mountain
struggle.
lions or whatever. I'm not sure what you guys call them, but it'd be mountain lions or cougars.
Yeah.
Panthers, tigers, lions, bears, whatever, dragons. There was
Oh
Oh
my.
my.
no and so when they went to look for her, there was no signs of her at all. There was no drag marks, no broken branches,
Hmm.
nothing. It's just gone. It's really,
Hmm.
really bizarre.
It is so weird how some of these stories kind of are like that, because I actually realized I was listening to some 411 missing stories being read on YouTube
Yeah,
and realized I've actually walked a trail where someone disappeared, just
as have I.
vanished in Joshua Tree National Park in California. And it's just what even being there, I'm thinking back on it now. It's pretty obvious where the trails are. There's signage, but I could see how someone could wander off. Like that, there's a point on this particular trail. It's pretty much a circle around a rock, a really
Mm.
big rock. It takes you like about an hour to walk around this rock, but this gentleman left his wife. She was not capable of doing the trail. He went and did the trail. I have to find his name now, so that for the next show, so that this actually makes sense.
Mm.
But yeah, he should have just come right around. Same thing, he should have come right around. And he went at a time of the day where it was very, very busy on the trail, so someone would have seen him if he went anywhere off of the trail, on the trail, disappeared
Right.
on the trail. Someone should have seen it,
Right.
and they're just gone. It's baffling.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I have that picture. I don't know how well it's gonna come off, but um, I'll show it to you guys here. I mean, I'll also put it in the
Put
but
it in the big channel.
yeah, I mean, but you can't really see it, but if you can notice, like this is the caves, and this is where the missing people are, and it's like it goes through all over here as well. But it's just like
Oh.
the
Okay.
largest quantity of missing people are over these cave systems, and it's. And I should also clarify there are limestone caves.
We've
That's not a
discussed
good thing.
limestone before.
Yeah. So, but there's all sorts. But like the large one that I showed there, that blue one,
Yeah.
Mhm.
is limestone caves. But there's also like lava tubes and all that kind of stuff as well, right? So
Yeah. Isn't there
all
that hotel in the Grand Canyon area that's like a limestone cavern? Ghost
yeah,
Adventures did an episode down there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's I truthfully I would love to go there, um, just because of like the silence, like. People are supposed to hallucinate because it's so quiet there. You can hear your own heartbeat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, I
anyway,
don't want to do the hallucination part, but the silence would be nice. Maybe do that without the hallucinations. Is there like a waiver you can sign? I'll take the silence.
Right.
No delusions.
just put in a little sound machine.
Yep.
Well, did any of you guys have anything else you wanted to say about this
No.
peculiar? I can't even say that. Peculiar,
About this
peculiar,
about this
peculiar.
Peking duck. No.
Mm.
Sure.
Well, I
Now
could
I
go
want Chinese.
I could go on for hours. Just talking about the
Well,
stories.
we
No.
cannot go on for hours because we have
What?
a 1 hour limit because of the Twitch.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, I could talk whatever. Twitch can be great. Um, but like between the theories that are out there, whether they're more plausible or not very plausible, or some that are plausible just not probable, or you know what I mean.
Yes.
mhm.
Everything from things that have been thrown out there are everything from aliens, Bigfoot, feral people. Obviously, I just brought that one up. There's also um, something to do with like almost like a predator from the Predator movies, like something that's kind of shimmery but still hidden. It's pretty crazy. Yeah,
Mhm,
lots of
Huh.
people have
mhm.
seen that kind of thing. So
I mean, we always got to remember that, like fantasy movies and stuff like that, all of these fantastical, wild ideas came from some kind of sliver of truth somewhere.
Hmm.
So
Right.
who knows what some people have seen and decided to maybe normalize us to, so that when we maybe see something like that, we don't think it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So that being said, it
Yeah.
sounds like we've actually come to the end of our missing 411 episode here. And don't forget to check out our incredible affiliate, Rogue Energy. If you go to their website, I believe it's rogueenergy.com, use our promo code OLEPODS. You can get 10% off of your order. My personal favorite is the Mina Shaker Kawa, as my amazing co-host Andre likes to call it. Pointing to the code now. You guys have to start modeling it for me. Come on. Carl, you're at the bottom there. You're our hand model.
Oh, I got to go this way with it.
There you go. Pull it
Wait
in.
for
Pull it
it.
in. Magic. So with your purchase of a shaker cup at Rogue Energy, you do get to pick 6 different samples of the energy, what is the other one? The protein, as well as the hydrate formulas of what they have available. Definitely give a try to the sour candy. That one is by far my favorite. I'm expecting an order of the grape popsicle coming in soon. Cannot wait for that. And Carl, my friend, if we're looking to find you on social media, where can we find you?
Easiest place. Check that ticker below. Once again, Linktree. linktr.ee/Karl Carafel, just as you see right there. There. And down right there. That's where you can find me.
Oh, he was just going above the werewolf there. And Alex, my friend, if you are still on sort of on social media, are you on social media yet?
No. You can find me.
I'm tagging someone. I'm hoping it's the right Alex.
You are tagging me. It's just I don't do anything with it. You know what I mean? Like I don't post pictures really anymore. So, but it is me, 100%. But you can go to YouTube and check up Werewolf at the Movies.
Mhm.
I review movies on a motorcycle. I also have one. It is Weichi Cannon, which is kind of like a catch-all for a bunch of stuff. But if you're interested in motorcycles and how to fix them, I got some rants on there too, and I don't know. You can hear how angry I get sometimes.
Everyone loves a good rant sometimes,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And if you're looking to follow a Melball, you can find me on Twitter at Collins Melball. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Melball Collins. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, usually on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, though it's probably going to be Fridays now too, because Stardom and then JPW love to run their freaking tournaments.
Right?
So I use an angry tone in jest, though. I love my tournaments. I couldn't go without my tournaments. Anyway, and if you are looking to get in touch with the ParaMindful crew, you can actually get in touch with us with our email down there. It's paramindful@gmail.com. If you have an experience that you want us to talk about or have having a problem and you need someone to solve it, we're not the Ghostbusters,
I
but
was about to
chances
say.
are if we don't know how to solve it, we know someone who does. So that
Yeah.
being said, I am your Melball. Over there is Alex. Down there is Carl. We will see you next time. Keep her spooky.